Welcome to Feature Fridays. My name is Guy Bartram, Director of Product Marketing in VMware, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Nikolay Petrikov again. Nikolay, welcome.
Thanks, Guy. It's always a pleasure to join you for a Feature Fridays episode.
And this one's a really exciting Feature Fridays because we are now announcing Cloud Director Availability 4.3. And this is like a complete feature-packed release, and it's addressing some really core initiatives and functionality that are really kind of changing the game as far as DR is concerned for us, right, Nikolay?
Yeah, DR and also some enhancements to migrations as well. So we're not neglecting them.
No, absolutely. But there's, previously we'd heard from our partners that they wanted a faster kind of recovery point objective. They wanted more control over runbooks and recovery sequencing and a whole load of other stuff, obviously. And this feature is really, this release has really addressed pretty much all of the key, as I see it, kind of things that were just limiting what Cloud Director Availability could actually be used for, like addressing real mission critical workloads, for example. Great. So Nikolay, let's dive into it. Let's go through. I believe you got some slides to show. So let's start with some slides and dive through those features.
So a few very short slides to describe the features, and then I will show also a live demo of the most notable ones, like the DR and migration plans. I start with this one as it's probably the biggest one. So with 4.3, we are now able to create DR plans where we define the sequence of how the different protections will be failed over, or how the migrations will happen, the sequence of migrations as well. We can put waiting periods between the different steps, add VMs or directly VApps to each of the steps. Also have user prompts to confirm, let's say, that the previous step was successfully completed, that the application has booted, etc. We can add these user prompts as well. And for each of the steps, we can add multiple VMs and VApps. One VM or VApp cannot be twice part of a plan, so it cannot be part of two steps, of one step at a time, but it can be part of multiple DR plans as well. And the one that is executed first will have the VM failed over. Also, changing the steps is very easy. We don't have to remove them, just drag and drop, move up and down, and that's about it. Here, a screenshot that is showing how it looks. It's very intuitive and very simple. In terms of actions that we have for each plan, we have, of course, test failover for the DR plans and test migration for the migration plans. And then this has zero impact on the source environment, on the source side. It only simulates and does the failover to the target side. So the org admin or the provider can check that everything is running smoothly. And after that, there is a test cleanup that will remove everything from the target cloud side, so nobody will be charged for that testing. That's quite important. And of course, after that, we can execute the failover. There is a monitor tasks button that goes to the recovery tasks menu with a pre-applied filter that is showing only the relevant to this plan tasks and what is their status. If there is any issue, it will be indicated there.
Okay.
In terms of migration plans,
before we jump onto that, so what's good about this feature is that it allows tenants to have, and obviously providers if it's a managed service, full control over the sequencing, timing, and staging of the steps to a failover, whether that's a DR failover or a migration failover. One thing I just wanted to point out here, and you mentioned VApps. So a new feature in 4.3, I'm not sure if you got a slide on it later, but the inclusion of being able to add or remove VApps from a replication, not having to reconfigure that replication. That's also inherited here, right? So if you make a change to a VApp and you want that VApp included in your replication cycle, it'll automatically be inherited from the recovery plan.
Exactly, and
yeah.
you have actually two options here. So when defining a step, if you just select the VMs that are part of a VApp, then if you add a new VM to this VApp, it will not affect the plan. But if you select the VApp itself and you add the VM later on, you will get this VM automatically attached to the correct step where we have the VApp. So yeah, this is the new feature, and I have a slide, and I have also included it in my demo, so you'll be able
sorry,
to,
I'm jumping
see
ahead.
that. No problem. It's always good not to miss something. So thanks for the pointer.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. For the migration plans, they're pretty much the same thing with one slight difference. When we create a migration plan, we can enable the so-called auto sync and set the schedule for that. That can be, let's say, a little before the maintenance window when the migrations are going to happen. This is going to perform an online sync without, again, affecting the source workloads, without powering off the VMs or something. So this way, then when the actual migration happens, the downtime would be minimized because the sync that will happen will be very small and for a very short period of time that needs to be covered for synchronizing. So it is a very useful feature when we talk about migrations. And
just to zoom into that one again. So when we do migration, we do a cold or warm migration. So this would be that scheduled initial sync. So if you've got a maintenance window at 2 o'clock in the morning and you want to migrate 10 VMs or something like that at that point, you could set this to do initial schedule an initial sync, which is a full sync, like an hour before. And then you come to your change window at 2 o'clock. Hopefully all your initial syncs are finished by that point. So you're not waiting in your change window like you used to have to be because there was no way of scheduling it before. And then when you do the warm migration, the only thing that's going to happen is a diff between the full initial and the time of the warm migration. So it should be fairly quick.
Exactly.
Cool.
Okay. The next major new feature is the advanced retention rules. And what we talk about here is to be able to have multiple instances with different schedules, different points in time. And in the previous versions, we had the limit of 24 instances that are being rotated, and they were spread in equal periods of time within the specified range. And now we can have up to 5 different rules where these, again, 24 instances can be spread and can be rotated on different schedules. All the rules are executed from top to bottom. So this means we will have to have the distance growing with the next rule, which is very important. And it cannot be shorter than the RPO. So let's say if we have a 5-minute RPO, we cannot put a distance of 1 minute. So this is important to mention.
So this is quite a complicated thing because it took me a while to get my head around this. So I kind of have so previously before, if I had a 1 hour RPO, you didn't have any choice over the retention period. It would be 1 hour RPO for 24 hours. So a whole day's worth of 1 hour replications. That was the way the system functioned before. Now you can have a 1 hour RPO, but you could say every 5 hours, keep one aside. And what that effectively does, it gives you a 1 hour RPO where you've got a profile here and you've got a rule saying keep one instance every 5 hours. Basically that one instance becomes a 5 hour RPO instance. If you think about it, that's the way I'm trying to think about it, because you can then select to restore that instance and it's going to be 5 hours. Every 5 hours, you're going to have that instance restore. So it's like you've got your 1 hour, 1 minute RPO or 1 hour RPO, but if you select to have, and the important point also is the system will work out if there's more than 24, and it won't let you do that. It will say, hang on, you got something wrong here. And you're breaking the system. So it does that calculation automatically for you. So this gives you much more granularity and control over things, but you can still have a fast RPO, but then you optionally have, like, I guess, more control over the rotation of the instances. Essentially, that's what it's doing. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And of course, if you have stored instances, they are not affected by these rules as it used to be in the past. And another thing that is important here is that we can we can enable these retention rules through the replication policies that are assigned one per organization. And then we can include them in the SLA profiles, like pre-built the different rules, or if we allow the tenants with custom SLA settings to control their retention rules through when they create a new replication, they can do this by themselves as part of their self-service. Of course, it's always better to guide them and to have the predefined, but if someone wants to, they can always give control to this to the tenants as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next is the 1 minute RPO that we have been talking about so much. It is again enabled through the replication policies where we can allow it to for a tenant to have it as an available option. And then in the SLA profile, we can define new SLA profile that matches. Of course, this is part of the service tiering that providers can have. They can have different SLA profiles for the typical RPO and just one for the mission critical workloads that we're talking about that will be not so often used. And of course, it has to be really cautiously used after consulting with the documentation and all the recommendations and prerequisites for that we actually have on the next slide.
Yeah, I mean, that's so there is a warning that comes up there actually when you select 1 minute RPO, and it doesn't matter what technology you use, what solution you use for your DR, a 1 minute RPO is going to have stress on the environment. And also there is a potential for your RPO period to be violated, i.e. unable to instantiate that RPO. And we're writing, I think it's going to come out pretty soon, if not already with launch. There is a detailed paper on how the RPO actually works. And when you start seeing RPO violations, which you could very easily with 1 minute RPO, then it tells you where to look and the type of things to check. Are you using compression on text files or binary files? If you're using it on binary files, no point, because they can't compress it, whereas text files compress nicely. So media, for example, not great target for compression.
The next feature is to add VM to an existing VApp. As you already mentioned, in the previous versions, we had to delete the replication and recreate it with the new set of VMs. Now it's possible to just add a VM without removing the replication for the VApp. This is done by enabling the group VMs to a single VApp button, even when selecting a single VM. So we always have this option available. And to add the VM, we need to check this button to have it on, select the VMs that we want to add, and on the next step, on the VApp name, we should enter the existing VApp name. And as you can see on the screenshot, it's showing that it has several VMs there already. So basically, that's all. We finalized the replication, and the new VM is added to the VApp. I have this as a part of the demo, and we'll show all its impact to the other functionality as well.
Okay.
We have a UI for endpoint address selection. As you know, in the past, for multi-NIC setups, which is the typical setup in a provider environment. We had to select which address will be used for internal communication, which would be, let's say, the tunnel external endpoint, and etc. And it all had to be done through the command line, which sometimes led to some challenges, let's say. And now with this new feature in the UI, we can do the internal communication selection of addresses through the UI of the replicator and the tunnel. It's available for both, and it will save some effort on going to the command line and making configurations from there. Okay, and some other new features. There are improvements to the backup and restore, as it was introduced in VCD 4.2, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But then to restore an appliance, you needed a fresh installation of this appliance, and also you had to restore the whole setup, all of the appliances at the same time. And now the improvements are we can restore a single component, single appliance, and it can be an in-place restore, which means it doesn't require the fresh installation, but it just has to be the same version of appliance running there. Then we have cleaning stale replications, which in the past, when we have some VMs with replication flag in vSphere for some reason, either managed by other tool or by other instance of VMware Cloud Director availability that is no longer there. For example, if you remove the appliances without removing the protections, they stay with this flag. And it resulted in failing the new replication job and having to perform some steps manually on vSphere level. And now with this new feature, they no longer fail, but VMware Cloud Director availability is doing this automatically for you. So no manual steps. You basically don't understand as a user that there were some stale replications. We have also the token authentication through the vSphere UI from the VMware Cloud Director Availability plugin for the cases when where the Cloud Director uses some kind of external identity provider and doesn't allow authentication with local users. And if you try to input the org admin, for example, user, it's a local user, so you cannot log in from the vSphere plugin there. And this is like an alternative to this case.
So this is really good because this allows a on-premise vSphere console where you've got the VCDA plugin and you're using perhaps SAML authentication there for your identity provider. Previously in the past, and if you wanted to log on to VCD, which you can, but you had to use a local name, username and password, which presented security challenge and operational overhead. So now you don't, right? You can use SAML at both end or a token. I think it's a Java web token, isn't it, for both the vSphere UI and the Cloud Director. Well, actually, no, it's the Cloud Director UI that just expects the token to be there.
Yep. And when you are in the vSphere UI, you just have the switch button to switch to this new token authentication when you're prompted to log into to VCD. So you just switch there and have a login button that opens the Cloud Director Availability VCD plugin, and there you authenticate and approve the token through a button. So it's a very simple, very intuitive, and doesn't add extra complexity to the whole process.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep. Also, we have the Cloud Tunnel connectivity status view that is part of the system health, where we can see the connectivity to all the internal components and also to some of the remote ones as well that are paired to this site. And the last improvement, big improvement, is for cases where providers change their cloud service certificate, which is happening when the certificate expires, or in any other case of when there is a need to change. In the past, the tenants had to repair to the cloud service once again to accept the new certificate and to continue operating, which was actually a big challenge for providers to communicate with all the tenants. And now when they change it, there is no need, as the on-premises sites automatically trust the certificate, so there is no issue in that, and the tenants will not even understand about the certificate change.
So this is like a whole load of operational savings here. Your backup
Yeah.
restore, that now is pretty solid, doesn't need, like say, all of the kind of stringent requirements it had before. Getting rid of the operational time it takes to find and replace and delete, zombie replications. The token authentication, that's going to really increase the speed that a provider can onboard a customer. The cloud tunnel connectivity status view, that's going to help them troubleshoot, what is this current status of tunnel, and if there's any issues with the tunnel, where it is. And this cloud certificate, which does happen quite often, that automatic trust and import of the new certificate is going to just make that whole operational capability much simpler for a cloud provider, especially when they're doing stuff at scale.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool. And that's kind of the main kind of key changes in 4.3. There's obviously a lot more in 4.3 as well, in terms of things that have been fixed, issues that have been fixed, in terms of additional language support now, I believe. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there. So this is hitting some of the mainline feature enhancements.
Yeah, that's what will be most noticeable, but also there are other small things that improve the overall operability of the product.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, you mentioned something about a demo, Nikolay. Is it up and running?
Yeah, I hope so. It used to be, but you know what happens when you have to present. Okay, let me share my demo browser.
Excellent.
Okay, so that's the UI. It's consistent. It looks the same way as it used to be, with a small addition, the recovery plans here that I'm going to show now. Also, the language support. You can change the language. And from this one, it's pretty nice. You can record what you're doing in terms of troubleshooting. It's very useful. So you record a short video and you can directly send it to the support folks.
Brilliant. Yeah, that makes it a bit easier.
Yep. Okay, so let's start with the replication policies and SLA profiles with the new settings added here. As on the screenshots, we have the allow advanced retention rules in the replication policy and the 1 minute RPO. So we can allow both. We can, of course, control the maximum number of rotated instances as it used to be, and it's still 24. Then we assign the policy to the organization that we want, and we can go to the SLA profiles. The 3 out of the box ones are still here, the bronze, silver, and gold, and we can add as many customers as we want. The warning that you mentioned, it's here. If I change the RPO, first it is disappearing, and then we can see that the retention distance should be greater than the RPO, the thing that we mentioned. So you get all these messages here to help you and guide you through the right configuration process, and not create anything that will not work afterwards. For the instances, we cannot add more than the already selected, more than 24. or the number that is already put in the replication policy. If it is limited even further, so you see I remove from one of the rules, and I can add immediately this instance to one of the other rules. And basically, this is how we configure the profiles. And
so just curious, these retention policies, these are still deltas, right? They are exactly like a multiple point in time instance, but they're just keeping them for a longer period. So you got 2 minutes, 6 hours, 18 hours, and 13 months. Okay.
Yep,
So
exactly.
the important thing here is you still need the source to be able to do the recovery.
Yep.
Yeah, because there's got to be something to make a consolidated disk with. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Okay, and that's about the SLA profiles and the 1 minute RPO and advanced retention rules. Then let's move to the DRN migration plans. We have 2 buttons: new recovery plan, which is a DR plan, and new migration plan. I'll start with the DR. We just give it a name, and we are ready to add some steps. Adding a step, we need to give it a name. We can add the waiting period, let's say 60 seconds. We can make a prompt. And then select VMs or VApps. So for the DR plans, we see only the protections, and for migration plans, we see only the migration. So there cannot be a mistake configuring this in a wrong way. And what I meant, I can pick just the VMs of this VApp, and it will not later, if I add another VM, it will not be included. But if I select the VApp itself, it will then give me the option to include this in to attach the new VM to the step. So I add the first step, then I can add another one, and I see that this is already included, so I cannot include it a second time. I pick the one that is not.
You could do the ordering within the VApp if you wanted to, and have a second step that addressed the rest of like VMs in the VApp. Yeah,
exactly. You can edit the VApp settings, or while defining the VApp, you can have this ordering as well there. So this is how my steps look. I have the VMs, VApps, and everything. And then let's go and add another VM to this demo VApp. I'll just create a new protection, select the group VM button and the VM that I want to add. And here I just need to type the name of the app, and I see that my demo app already has 2 VMs in it.
Yeah.
And here is the control. I can add the delay for this VM, and later on, after it gets added to the VApp itself, I can have this configured for all the VMs included in the VApp. Now, just here is the VM added, and it will take a few seconds or minutes to have everything fully configured. Yeah, it's already here, and we can go to the DR plan, select the step, and here is our new VM. And next, the migration plan, and what is the change? The auto sync. I can pick up a date in time and select what time I would like to have. Just create it, and all the rest is exactly the same.
Yeah.
I see only the migrations. Select one and finish. Basically, this is the thing for both plans. I have the test button and the monitor tasks that I mentioned. While I perform a test or failover, I also have the suspend button that is showing up. And if I decide to use it, let's say I think that there is something wrong or I need to stop for a while and press the suspend button, it will wait until the currently running step finishes, and only then the plan will be suspended. So it's not immediate, it waits for the current step and all the replications that are part of it to be done. And I have the test cleanup button. Basically, these are all the actions that I have, plus the change owner and clone. After I execute a plan, it is not available for execution anymore, and I can clone it and have it again if I need for some reason. If not, then I can just leave it or delete it. And the change owner is quite good because the providers can define plans and then can change the ownership to the tenant, and then they can maintain this by themselves and reorder the steps or modify the steps. So it's quite useful. Okay, and the last part that I want to show, the tunnel connectivity. So here are the local components and the on-prem incoming, so the remote components that are also connected to this tunnel. Basically, we can observe the status of the connection, the health of the connection, and if there is a problem, it will be shown here.
Awesome.
Yep. Okay, so that's about the demo.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. I'm just taking it all in. So yeah, the tunnel connectivity is something that's been requested quite a lot, and that's going to be really handy to understand the status of current tunnels, especially the on-premise appliances and how they're connecting through. And you know, like we've covered loads of controls now over recovery plans. Do you want to run one of those recovery plans? I particularly want to see that prompt come up so people understand what it actually does.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually test it, as I'll be able to show the test cleanup. Here is the suspend button that I mentioned. It's becoming available, and we have the monitor tasks that will show us the filter applied for this plan only, and it will show the status of the task.
Okay, right. So to be clear then, and this is a key thing, that this doesn't interrupt existing replication. This is a task that, you know, if you've got a 1 minute RPO and this takes 5 minutes to run, you're still going to have five deltas created from that one RPO in that time period.
Yep, and yeah, my
it
is not synchronized yet, so it's gonna fail probably.
yeah, that's fair enough. Okay, no worries. But basically, the prompt is a UI prompt. It pops up with a kind of big red notice saying "next stage available" kind of thing, doesn't it? I can't remember exactly what it says.
Yep, and oh, good. So I had it synchronized, so maybe it will not fail. And we'll be able to see the prompt.
Okay. So with this, you can really get to some sort of granularity around your application grouping, your VApps. I mean, what I like about it is VApps tend to be not static things. They're, you know, typically things that grow and shrink as more requirements are required for an application, more resources required for an application or less. So this, if you use the VApp level in your recovery plan, then you're automatically going to inherit everything that's in that environment as well when you execute your tests or when you actually have a real disaster you need to recover from.
Yep, and you don't need to think about each VM, but only include a VApp itself, and it will take care of everything. Okay, so we hit the waiting time. Maybe I should have set it to 5 seconds only. But
don't worry. Well, whilst we're waiting for that, I mean, Nikolay, let's just quickly talk about you know, one of the key things now is protection against malware, and I think with what we've got now with a 1 minute RPO, we've got the granularity of restore to give you, you know, go back 24 points if you're fast enough to understand that it's going to be within that 24 that you got you're infected. But you've also got the, with the advanced retention periods, you've got the ability to go back further. So if you've got malware that's come from a Trojan horse, for example, that may be sitting on the file system for quite some time, you might be able to go back and find quicker using the Delta technology that we have with the multiple point in time instances, and now the additional control over the advanced retention rules. You can go back faster than I think you ever have, and you've got obviously that control then over the periods that you're looking at, which is kind of essential with malware. It's about not necessarily getting back to exactly the point of infection. It's about getting the business up and running as fast as possible, which means, if you got a 1 minute RPO, then you're going to go back through several minutes. That's not going to be great. You're going to be restoring each instance and trying it. But if you have like the last hour from a retention rule, or the last 5 hours, or the last day, or last week, or the last month, you can instantly go back to those things. And it depends. There's obviously a trade-off between the amount of data lost and the cost of getting your business up and running as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
That's the extra flexibility added by the combination of both.
Yeah, I think, it's not, obviously malware, and this is really interesting that service providers particularly are being targeted now, because obviously service providers have a lot of customers, and it's easy for a malware to infect a lot of different environments potentially if the security is not up to scratch. But also it's one kind of weapon in the arsenal that all providers should be giving all their customers access to. A simple disaster recovery solution, as well as backup, as well as advanced threat detection, as well as all of these other things. Disaster recovery is one of the fastest ways to recover your information and get your business back and running. So it's an important asset. Okay, I'll shut up now. You can show us the prompt.
No problem. So we see this staying here, and until we click it, the plan is not continuing. So we just need to approve. We see the message.
Do you see that in the, if we click, do you see that in the status view as well? Or is it just there that you see?
Here we see that it was suspended. Yeah.
Yeah, by prompt.
We need to go to the plan itself.
Got it.
I just approve it, and it's instantly going to the next step.
Awesome. That's really cool. I love that. Well, Nikolay, I think that's a fantastic quick demo of the new functionality in 4.3, and I know you are creating loads of videos for our YouTube channel, so there'll be much more for providers to see and use. So thank you for doing that, and thank you for kind of walking us through 4.3.
No problem. So a quick note, just for the upgrade, how to get to 4.3. If you're running an older version, we have a video dedicated, and also a blog post that is published, so you can follow the instructions. We have updated all our upgrade guides, so everything is there. Just follow the steps.
Will do. And there is, I think you've got a series of blogs, haven't you, coming?
Yeah. So we have every Tuesday and every Thursday up to 7th of December. We'll have a new blog talking in details about the features and how to utilize them.
Excellent. And of course, to those listening, if you have any questions about 4.3, you can always ask us on the Slack channel, and use that as the way of getting a fairly fast response from all of the engineers globally. I'll post the link in the description down below. Nikolay, thanks again. Real pleasure to have you on. So excited to see 4.3 and Cloud Director availability. I think it's brilliant. I love this product. Just a point of interest, we have over, I think it's 180 partners now deployed of Cloud Director 4.3. Was it something like 14,000 replications going on every month around the world?
Yeah.
So it's gathering real traction, which is fantastic to see. And I think it's testament to the product managers, the product marketing experts like yourselves, all having input into this product. So thank you.
Thank you for having me here. It was a pleasure as usual, and looking forward to speaking with you again soon for the next release.
Absolutely. Or before, you never know.
Yeah.
Cheers, Nikolay.
Cheers. Bye.